لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله ما لنا رب سوى لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله ما لنا رب سوى.
إن الحمد لله الصلاة والسلام على نبينا Muhammad وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم. Recently, I received a link to Tablighi Jamat video by Sheikh Assim Al-Hakeem via WhatsApp from a well-wisher who obviously doesn't associate with Tabligh Jamat. The brother sent the video to warn me about Tabligh Jamat, about which Sheikh Assim Al-Hakeem raised some issues. The Sheikh, for those who don't know him, graduated from Al-Qura University in Mecca, and he frequently appears on Islam Channel and Peace TV. Alhamdulillah, I've been participating in this effort for more than 2 decades, and I know these issues arose from a very superficial understanding of the effort. After watching the clip, I was going to ignore it as per the usul of Tabligh Jamat. Because of this usul, we find only a handful of booklets and speeches in their defense. Some may trace this usul to the conviction that this work is accepted by Allah, and if that's true, then mere opinions of mortals cannot harm the work. So this effort does not need a defense. Any time spent in defending it will simply be a distraction. However, I decided to make this video upon receiving a request from a friend of mine who has been sort of active in this work locally for the last couple of years, and he is yet to spend any serious length of time, such as 40 days and 4 months away from home. Naturally, I also feared Sheikh Asim's video might become the reason for many Muslims being deprived of the benefits of this work. Inshallah, this video should prove beneficial to the wider audience as well. So my goal is not to tarnish the reputation of Sheikh Assim Al-Hakeem, but I would like to help clear up some misconceptions around this effort. In my view, the case of Tabligh Jamat is similar to the case of Islam. We will never ward off anybody from Islam simply because of the corrupt beliefs of certain Muslims, i.e. Extreme Sufis and Takfiris, or the existence of misguided parties and corrupt media and literature. Rather, we would wish everyone to investigate Islam as seriously as one would in the case of investing entire lives' fortunes in a project. What do I mean? Well, I would expect people to put aside stereotypes and prejudices, understand and accept a rationale for embracing Islam, which could be to follow commands of Allah, fulfill the purpose of life, earn eternal paradise, follow guidance of Islam, etc. Sift through various interpretations of Islam and grab hold of that which is handed down authentically by Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and his companions. The same is true with Tabligh Jamat. Someone taking Islam from the so-called experts without recourse to the understanding of the companions of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ will never see the light of true Islam. Similarly, if we do not try to understand what Tabligh Jamat is doing without recourse to the understanding of its true followers, then we will never be able to judge, much less remain steadfast upon it.
Unfortunately, they have a number of innovations.
So now we try to look at some specific issues raised in this video. It's not clear what aspect of Tabligh Jamat activity the Shaykh considers as bid'ah. Leaving home and traveling for the purpose of learning the deen, whether done alone or in groups, is a well-known, well-established tradition, and lives of Salaf bear testimony to this. I hope the Shaykh doesn't mean this. Ashab Kahf and the Muhajirin of Makkah left their homes in Makkah to safeguard their Iman. Safeguarding Iman is more important than anything else in life. Muslims living in the East or the West are facing such extraordinary challenges in this end of time that ulama are saying going out to safeguard their iman is fard ain. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, to the nearest meaning, be prompt in doing good deeds before you overtake him by turbulence, which would be like a part of the dark night. During that stormy period, a man would be a Muslim in the morning and an unbeliever in the evening, or he would be a believer in the evening and an unbeliever in the morning, and would sell his faith for worldly goods. Now, going back to the issue of bid'ah, clearly Muslims practicing bid'ah is a serious problem. Now, what happens when one wants to avoid bid'ah when dealing with a new issue which did not appear during the lifetime of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? This dilemma is brilliantly illustrated in the story of the compilation of the Quran. At the Battle of Yamama, around 70 Sahaba who had memorized the Quran were martyred. It alarmed Umar radiallahu and he suggested to Abu Bakr radiallahu to collect it. Umar radiallahu continued to exhort until the both agreed to undertake the project, putting Zayd bin Sabit radiallahu in charge of collecting the entire Quran in one manuscript. The Sahih Hadith from Bukhari, Zayd bin Sabit radiallahu anhu narrated, Abu Bakr sent me owing to large number of casualties in the Battle of Yamama, while Umar radiallahu was sitting with him. Abu Bakr said to me, Umar has come to me and said, a great number of Qari of the Holy Quran were killed on the day of the Battle of Yamama, and I'm afraid that the casualties among the Qaris of the Quran may increase on other battlefields, whereby a large part of the Quran may be lost. Therefore, I consider it advisable that you should have Quran collected. I said, how dare I do something which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not do? Umar said, by Allah, it is something beneficial. Umar kept on pressing me for that till Allah opened my chest for that for which he had opened the chest of Umar, and I had in that matter the same opinion as Umar had. Abu Bakr then said to me, you are a wise young man, and we do not have any suspicion about you, and you used to write the divine inspiration for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So you should search for the fragmentary scripts of the Quran and collect it in one book. By Allah, if Abu Bakr had ordered me to shift a mountain among the mountains from one place to another, it would not have been heavier for me than this ordering me to collect the Quran. Then I said to Umar Abu Bakr, how can you do something which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not do? Abu Bakr said, by Allah, it is something beneficial. So he kept on pressing me for that until Allah opened my chest, for that for which he had opened the chests of Abu Bakr and Umar. And I had in that matter the same opinion as theirs. So I started compiling the Quran by collecting it from the leafless stalks of the date palm tree, and from the pieces of leather and hides, and from the stones, and from the chests of man. I found the last verses of Surah At-Tawbah. Verily there has come unto you an apostle from amongst yourselves, from Khuzaimah or Abi Khuzaimah, and I added it to the rest of the surah. The manuscripts of the Quran remained with Abu Bakr till Allah took him unto him. Then it remained with Umar till Allah took him unto him, and then with Hafsa bint Umar. Thus, it is of paramount importance that ordinary Muslims have correct understanding of bid'ah. Otherwise, they might refrain from that which they are supposed to do because of an oversimplified definition of bid'ah. Or, they might indulge in bid'ah thinking it is approved by Sharia, usually by following people of desire and people of thought. As for the criteria for bid'ah, first we need to understand that there is a multitude of opinions on its definition and status of the person alleged to be mubtadi. Bid'ah literally means innovation. However, if we apply it strictly, then we will fall out of many things accepted by the Salaf. For example, number 1. Bilal radiallahu said, whenever I do wudu, after it, I always perform nawafil salah. 2. In a masjid in Quba, an imam used to lead congregational prayers in every rak'ah after reciting Surah Al-Fatiha. And a verse of the Quran, he also recited Surah Al-Ikhlas as well. When our Prophet ﷺ asked him Why do you do this? He replied, I love reading Surah Ikhlas. Our Prophet said, this love will take you towards paradise. 3. Umar ordered that Tarawih prayer should be offered together. When the people started this, and Umar saw this, he said, this is a good bid'ah. During the time of Rasulullah Quran used to be recited in 7 different types of qira'ats. But Usman radiallahu anhu united the people to one type of qira'at. This was a thing not done by Prophet Abu Bakr or Umar, but by Usman. 5. The critical marks and vowel symbols in the Quran ordered by Hajjaj bin Yusuf to facilitate reading of the Quran by the non-Arabs. 6. Names of surahs written in the Quran. 7. Mihrabs in the masjid. 8. Minarats of masjids. 9. Taqleed of the 4 usuls of fiqh. 10. Fixing congregational prayer times with the clock times. 11. Praying 8 rak'ah for Tarawih. Did anyone pray like this in the first 200 years of Islam? Ibn Qudama said, the favored view according to Abu Abdullah, meaning Imam Ahmad alayhi, is that it is 20 rak'ahs. This was the view of Tawri, Abu Hanifa, and Ash-Shafi'i. Malik alayhi said it is 36. 12. The new fields of study started by the Salaf, such as Usul Tafsir, Usul Hadith, Usul Fiqh, Asma Rijal. So, Umar ordered the people to offer congregational prayers of Tarawih and called this Bid'ah Hasanah. From this, the ulama concluded that after Prophet ﷺ, any new thing that was initiated and was not against his Sunnah or the Quran is called Bid'ah Hasanah. 2. To start something new in Islam which is not already there and does not affect the Sunnah, then this will be the Sunnah of Umar, i.e. it will be considered Bid'ah Hasanah. Did Rasulullah ﷺ not ask us, follow Khalifa Rashidin? Now, other alims may not agree to this interpretation. So then is it right for those people to make disparaging comments about people who are following a scholarly interpretation? Imam Shafi'i said, Bid'ah is of 2 types, praiseworthy bid'ah and blameworthy bid'ah. That which agrees with the Sunnah is praiseworthy, and that which contradicts the Sunnah is blameworthy. Sultan al-Ulama, Izzuddin bin Abdul Salam said, Bid'ah is divided into that which is mandatory, forbidden, recommended, offensive, or permissible. The method to determine which type it falls in is to examine it in light of the established principle of the Sharia. If it falls under the principles of that which is mandatory, then it is mandatory, or the principles of what is forbidden, then it is forbidden, or recommended, then it is recommended, or offensive, then it is offensive, or permissible, then it is permissible. He further gave examples for each type. From mandatory innovations is the science of Arabic grammar in order to understand the Quran and Sunnah. And from the forbidden innovations is the madhab of sects such as Qadiriyah. And from the recommended innovations is the creation of schools and gathering for Tarawih prayer. And from the permissible innovations is the act of shaking hands after prayers. And from the offensive innovations is the decoration of the masjid and copies of the Quran. Imam Nawawi explains the 2 types of bid'ah, bid'ah sayyi'ah and bid'ah hasanah. Bid'ah sayyi'ah is a bid'ah that opposes the Quran and Sunnah, and bid'ah hasanah is a bid'ah that is not against the Quran and Sunnah. Hafiz Ibn Rajab defines bid'ah to mean new things that have no basis in the Quran or Sunnah. If a new practice as evidence from Quran or Sunnah, it will not be bid'ah Sharia, but it will be bid'ah lughawiyah or linguistic bid'ah. Hafiz Ibn Hajar Asqalani writes, if a new thing is against Islam, it will be bad. If it is not against Islam, it will be Hasan or good. Sheikh Al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah writes that bid'ah is always bad. But some scholars say that there are two kinds of bid'ah, that one is good and one is bad. If a new thing has origin in the Quran and Sunnah, it will be called linguistic bid'ah, but not bid'ah in Sharia. Only the word bid'ah will be used on the new things. Like the Quran was collected in one book after Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the congregational Tarawih prayer was started in Sayyidina Umar last time, but these two things have an origin in the Sunnah. Therefore, it will be called linguistic bid'ah. He further said, the bid'ah by which a person would be counted as from the people of desires is that which is well known by people of knowledge of Sunnah in it, opposing the book and Sunnah, such as bid'ah of Khawarij, Rafidiyah, Al-Qadariyah, and the Murjiyah. Al-Qadi Abu Bakr ibn al-Arabi, in his explanation of the saying, beware of new things, said that innovation is of two kinds. Number one, innovation that has its origin only in desire and acting on desire is wrong. And number two, innovation that is supported by wisdom. This type is from the rightly guided caliphs and other excellent learned scholars. Now I would challenge anyone to go out with them and investigate what aspect of the effort is not sanctioned by Sharia. But with one caution, don't look at the mistakes of the participants, consider them as patients who are in a spiritual hospital. Scrutinize the objects, means and methods particular to the effort. Some people have stooped to such ignorance as to point out the eating and sleeping in the masjids. This is not surprising because they are ignorant of all the activities that used to go on in Masjid Nawawi. They are used to seeing people going to masjid only for salah and zikr. In fact, there are three types of people for whom eating and sleeping in the masjid is allowed, and those who participate in Tabligh Jamah effort qualify upon all three conditions. These are people in itiqaf, seekers of knowledge. Around 100 Sahabis, who used to be called Ashab al-Suffah, stayed in the Prophet's mosque for many years. And number three, the Musafirs.
They depend on books that include fabricated hadiths, weak hadiths, and some incidents. It also indicates shirk.
Fadl al-Amal is often considered to be the principal book for Tabligh. This is not the case. Had it been the case, then it would have been read universally, including in Arab countries. The usul of this effort is taken from the book Hayat al-Sahaba by Maulana Yusuf Lawi, rahmatullahi alayhi, and thus it is studied in all markazes. Fadl al-Amal consists of commentaries of Quranic verses, hadiths, and seerah by Sheikh Zakaria rahmatullahi alayhi. The aim of the book is to motivate people to practice the complete deen in a language understandable to the layman. There is hardly any book in the market that comes close to it in terms of content and scope, meaning developing love for Allah and the Sunnah, Sahaba, building Iman, encouraging for basic deeds such as Salat, Dhikr, reciting Quran, enjoining good, forbidding evil. Riyadh al-Salihin by Imam Rawi rahmatullahi alayhi and Tanbih al-Ghafilin by Faqih Abu Samarkandi are good alternatives. As for the disputed narrations in Fadl al-Amal, then it is impossible to discuss individual hadiths or stories in this short video. However, I would like to tell viewers following in this regard. If you know a fabricated hadith, then steer away from it. Be aware that though a hadith may be fabricated, it does not necessarily negate the importance of the subject matter of the hadith. For instance, we all hear the famous statement attributed to Rasulullah that seek knowledge even if you have to go as far as China. The status and use of weak hadith is debated amongst ulama. When the authenticity of weak hadith are mentioned, it comes across as valueless. This is not the case. One must realize that weak hadith are on a separate spectrum to fabricated hadith. The hadith may be labeled weak because of the chain of transmission, but they are strengthened by their number. Text of a weak hadith, matan, may well be a statement of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and so we should show due regard for it. The classification according to authenticity gives the level of certainty that it comes from Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam without any alteration. In order to get an idea of the reliability, let's put the authenticity of the hadith in perspective. For example, Mutawatir hadith, 100% certainty. Sahih hadith, 99%. Hasan hadith, 90%. Weak hadith, 70%. Fabricated hadith, 10%. Mathematical theorems supported by formal proof, 100%. Mathematical proof supported by computational proof, 99%. Laws of physics, 95%. Laws of social science, 60%. Broadsheet newspaper, 60%. Textbook history, 55%. Tabloid newspaper, 30%. Hearsay, WhatsApp messages, etc., 15%. Now obviously these are crude values. One may disagree, but I think the point is made very clear anyway. Many ulama allow use of weak hadith for deeds which have well-grounded foundation in deen. It is not used for aqidah and fiqh issues. We might come across a story, the origin of which may be doubtful, but it does not automatically mean we are forbidden to narrate it. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam allowed us to narrate stories from Ahl Kitab, even though we know they are doubtful. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, "You may report about children of Israel, and there is no blame, haraj. Report about me or from me, but do not tell untruths about me." Sheikh Assim did not invent these stories. He put these in the book because he attracted some value to it. None of these stories are impossible for Allah. Certainly, Quran and Hadith record many stories which are much more miraculous than the questionable stories in this book. Finally, on this topic, does the presence of the stories render the book containing them useless for tarbiyah? Sheikh Assim mentioned a story which may be construed as a sign of shirk. There are other people who conflate alleged problems of shirk by different personalities with this effort. In reality, this is not the case. That is a regional issue detached from this. For this very reason, such local problems are not affecting the wider current of the Tablighi effort. In other words, if there was some shirk, if Tabligh Jamat was to propagate shirk, then this would have affected the effort throughout the world. Just like if Tabligh Jamat was to propagate Hanafi madhab, then it would have affected the whole world. But it's not the case. Sheikh Assim himself is a witness to this in his discussion about the Arabs. My view is that these comments are not appropriate. So once again, criticize Tabligh work for what it is, its aims, principles, means, and methods, not that which does not affect its day-to-day business.
Going to grave yards and seeking the blessings of the deceased in their graves.
This is sheer propaganda. It is far from the reality and seems to be an extrapolation from the alleged teachings from the stories in Fazal al-Amal. I have never seen anyone venerating at graves as part of Tabligh Jamat effort. I wonder if Sheikh Assim himself met a single person in his entire life who worships in the grave and thinks Tabligh Jamat taught them this. Even if the Sheikh met someone like that, would that statistically amount to 1,000th of a percent? Frankly, ulama who propagate these only undermine their own scholarship and authority. My advice to anyone who passes on such allegations should investigate it, particularly for themselves. In my years of interaction with them, I have not seen a single person in Tabligh Jamah praying in a grave. Rather, The crying voice of Tabligh Jamat is to turn our attention to the Creator, not creation, whether dead or alive. Indeed, one of the aims of Tabligh Jamat is to develop the participants to a level in the Iman that they can take from the treasures of Allah and solve their problems by means of sabr and salah. If someone immerses fully in their program, then they will not have any inclination or time for shirk and bid'ah. It's not difficult for anyone to verify this.
They have a lot of innovations, such as the tabyin, such as the 6 pillars that they follow, such as restricting the days of travel 3 to 10 or 40 days.
When Jamaat goes out, it exerts effort on 3 fronts simultaneously, namely on rectifying and developing oneself, on fellow travelers, upon the residents of locality they visit. The primary focus of the above 3 efforts is to develop 6 qualities in that time. Tablighi Jamah is not the first group to classify knowledge or setting targets to focus efforts. Such classifications are common in many branches of Deen anyway. It is not necessary that everyone will succeed in developing all 6 qualities every time they go out. Here I would like to give a very brief overview of the 6 qualities. Number 1, develop yaqeen in La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. The vast multitude of Muslims utter this kalima, but by their action they display a total disregard to the demands and convictions upon this kalima. For example, people know Allah is the sustainer, yet many Muslims engage in worldly life in such a way that it's the job and the shop and etc. are the sustainer. A consequence of this is that when the demand of dunya clashes with the demands of deen, they drop the commands of deen. Similarly, they understand the criteria for success is in following sunnah, and yet their social life is like the Christians and their businesses run like the Jews. So by leaving behind all the apparent means and by engaging in the environment of dawah, one develops the iman. One begins to practically negate power of all means and creations, whether it be food, medicine, doctor, lawyer, engineer, job, shop, trees, houses, cars, career, majority, gold, silver, iron, money, wife, children, intellect, sun, the moon, the land, the systems, government, the power, etc. None of these things has any power to benefit or harm a person. These creations are akin to the staff of Musa, which became harmful or beneficial only by the will of Allah. The more one furnishes oneself with this quality, the further he will go from shirk and bid'ah. Life of the person and the community is then built upon the fact that Allah has not kept the means of all success of oneself and the community beyond their own individual and collective iman and amal. This is the true equality and ultimately empowering. Number 2. Salah is the first command of Allah after Iman. One develops concentration and devotion in Salah to take from the treasures of Allah to fulfill his or her needs. If Salah is of right quality, then it will transform one's life outside Salah. Effort to develop this quality includes correcting recitation of Quran, performing wudu properly, pray Salah in congregation, fulfilling one's needs, and seeking help of Allah through Salah, performing tahajjud and Salatul Ishraq, etc. Number 3. Through knowledge of virtues of deeds that Allah requests us to perform at different times, place, and conditions, remaining conscious of Him, the Ummah will develop the capacity to perform actions and succeed. On the Day of Judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask whether one acted upon the knowledge given. Number 4. Suppressing one's needs to fulfill the needs of fellow Muslims is a feature of Muslim brotherhood that Muhajir and Ansars demonstrated. We learn to value the Muslims according to their status. For a single believer, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will maintain the whole universe intact. This quality is the antidote to takfir, selfishness, egoism, narcissistic personality, etc. Number 5. Develop sincerity in doing everything for the sake of Allah, eschewing all forms of showing off in order to make our deeds weighty and acceptable to Allah. Number 6. Sahabas going out in the path of Allah to fulfill the needs of deen is as normal as doing 9 to 5 in this day and age. Going out helps one to develop the concern for the humanity, learning to serve them, get close to Allah, conduct teaching and learning, participate in dawah, enjoining good and forbidding evil, get direct help from Allah, etc. To do this, one should devote the 3 blessings of time, health and wealth. Specific outings for 3, 10, 40 or 120 days, etc. are purely for logistical reasons. But as a matter of fact, as and when the need arises, they relax these rules more readily than many of the formal educational establishments like madrasa or darul ulums.
Not speaking entirely about jihad. When you talk to them about one of the pillars of Islam, which is jihad, they would shun you, would stop you, and would shut you up, because this is a taboo.
Well, as far as I know, Tabligh Jamah use the word jihad in their discourses quite frequently. All too often they mention the verse of the Quran,
وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ لَمَعَ الْمُحْسِنِينَ.
As for those who strive in us, we surely guide them to our paths, and lo, Allah is with the righteous. Among other verses which one can hear frequently in various gatherings are
قُلْ إِن كَانَ آبَاؤُكُمْ وَأَبْنَاؤُكُمْ وَإِخْوَانُكُمْ وَأَزْوَاجُكُمْ وَعَشِيرَتُكُمْ وَأَمْوَالٌ اقْتَرَفْتُمُوهَا وَتِجَارَةٌ تَخْشَوْنَ كَسَادَهَا وَمَسَاكِنُ تَرْضَوْنَهَا أَحَبَّ إِلَيْكُمْ مِنَ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ وَجِهَادٍ فِي سَبِيلِهِ فَتَرَبَّصُوا حَتَّى يَأْتِيَ اللَّهُ بِأَمْرِهِ وَاللَّهُ لَا يَهْدِي الْقَوْمَ الْفَاسِقِينَ.
Say, if your fathers, your sons, your brothers, your wives, your relatives, wealth which you have obtained, commerce wherein you fear decline, and dwellings with which you are pleased, are more beloved to you than Allah and His Messenger, and jihad in His cause, then wait until Allah executes His command. And Allah does not guide the rebellious.
انفروا خفافا وثقالا وجاهدوا بأموالكم وأنفسكم في سبيل الله ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون.
Go forth whether light or heavy, and strive with your wealth and your lives in the cause of Allah. That is better for you if you only knew.
قل هذه سبيلي أدعو إلى الله على بصيرة أنا ومن اتبعني.
Say, this is my way. I invite to Allah with insight, I and those who follow me. Maulana Umar Palanpuli rahmatullahi alayhi once explained that in the verse,
ألا تطع الكافرين وجاهدهم به جهادا كبيرا.
Allah declared the work of da'wah in Mecca is the greatest jihad. There was no fighting in Mecca. The Arabic word of fighting is the qital, and it's not used in the Quran until much later. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu reported, We were sitting with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam when a young man approached us. When we saw him, we said, if only this young man had given his youth and effort and strength in the path of Allah. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam heard our conversation and he said, is there nothing in the path of Allah but fighting? Whoever strives for his parents is in the path of Allah. Whoever strives for his family is in the path of Allah. Whoever strives for himself to be independent is in the path of Allah. Whoever strives to gain many possessions for himself is in the path of Satan. In another hadith, Rasulullah said, whoever goes out seeking knowledge is in the path of Allah until he returns. In another hadith, Rasulullah said, to guard Muslims from infidels in Allah's cause for one day is better than the world and whatever is on its surface. And a place in paradise as small as that occupied by the whip of one of you is better than the whole world and whatever is on its surface. And a morning or an evening's journey which a slave travels in Allah's cause is better than the world and whatever is on its surface. And of course, the guarding at the borders is not for qital, rather to make safety of the iman and salah of Muslims. Thus, jihad has much wider meaning. Restricting jihad to simply fighting is thus incorrect. Perhaps Sheikh Assim meant to use the restricted meaning of jihad, i.e. qital, when he said jihad is like a taboo topic for Tabligh Jamah. Somebody asked Umar radiallahu anhu, O Abu Abdurrahman, narrate to us about the battles during the time of the fitna, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says,
وَقَاتِلُوهُمْ حَتَّى لَا تَكُونَ فِتْنَةٌ وَيَكُونَ الدِّينُ لِلَّهِ.
And fight them until there is no more fitna. Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu said, do you know what is meant by the fitna? Let your mother bereave you. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to fight against the mushriks, for a Muslim was put to trial in his religion. The mushriks will either kill or chain him as a captive. His fighting was not like your fighting, which is carried on for the sake of ruling. Hafiz ibn Hajar rahmatullahi says in Fath al-Bari that attaining the knowledge of the basic principles of deen, studying Islamic theology, propagation of good and forbidding of evil are all jihad. I'm not going to discuss jihad academically, but would like everyone to reflect on the following points. Jihad is a very serious matter, and lives of countless Muslims and non-Muslims could be at stake. Ordinary people should not entertain discussion on this topic. They should follow people of authority and ulama. How many thousands of Muslims have been perished in Egypt, Algeria, Syria, and other places for the so-called jihad, spurred on by people of emotion, power politics, and their enemies who want to incite the youth in order to destroy them. Muslims have a duty of following people of authority. Such grievances as poverty, lack of freedom, or political participation, or any other worldly reason are not legitimate reasons for jihad. There is no legitimacy for targeting unarmed civilians. In non-Muslim countries, Muslims are bound by the law of the land. Jihad cannot begin without a Khalifa. Just look at the confusion in Syria. Who is fighting whose war there, and in the name of what? Regarding jihad, Umar Palanpuri rahmatullahi alayhi further explained that Allah taught us for all the people who will come in this world till the hour, how the help of Allah descends. In Badr, Allah showed how believers received His help. For 13 years they were sacrificing for the sake of Allah in Makkah. 3 conditions for help in Badr are taqwa, sabr when hard times come due to following His commands, and earnestly making dua.
بلى إن تصبروا وتتقوا ويأتوكم من فورهم هذا يمددكم يمددكم ربكم ب5,000 من الملائكة مسومين.
Yes, if you remain patient and conscious of Allah and the enemy come upon you, attacking in rage, your Lord will reinforce you with 5,000 angels having marks of distinction. In Uhud, Allah SWT showed that whenever our sight or attention goes to other than Allah, the help of Allah departs from the believers.
وَلَقَدْ صَدَقَكُمُ اللَّهُ وَعْدَهُ إِذْ تَحُسُّونَهُم بِإِذْنِهِ حَتَّى إِذَا فَشِلْتُمْ وَتَنَازَعْتُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ وَعَصَيْتُم مِّن بَعْدِ مَا أَرَاكُم مَّا تُحِبُّونَ مِنكُم مَّن يُرِيدُ الدُّنْيَا وَمِنكُم مَّن يُرِيدُ الْآخِرَةَ ثُمَّ صَرَفَكُمْ عَنْهُمْ لِيَبْتَلِيَكُمْ وَلَقَدْ عَفَا عَنكُمْ وَاللَّهُ ذُو فَضْلٍ عَلَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ.
Allah has surely fulfilled His promise to you when you, with His will, were killing them off, until you showed weakness, and disputed in the matter and disobeyed after He had shown you what you liked. Among you there were some who were seeking the mundane, and among you there were others who were seeking the hereafter. After that He reversed your position against them, so that He may test you. Of course, He has forgiven you. Allah is all gracious to the believers. Some of the Muslims who were in charge of securing the mountain gave attention to the material booties and thus jeopardized the success. Whenever people's attention turns away from Creator to creation, help of Allah departs. Even though they were the Sahaba in the presence of Sayyidul Anbiya, even though their hearts were clean of bid'ah and shirk, Allah did not tolerate that some of those paid any attention or gave value to worldly materials. Count how many hearts of today's Muslims are not saturated with the love of dunya. These Muslims, though cleansed their hearts of idol worship, their yaqeen was still on money, business, etc. Saying by tongue is not enough. Allah can bring severe tests of iman. If they fail to live up to the statement they utter with their tongue, what will happen to help of Allah and the victory they so crave? When their sight went to the materials, 4 types of weaknesses arose in their midst. Number 1, make worldly tension, which resulted in number 2 of weakening and differing opinions, whether to collect the booty. Number 3, disunity between them. And number 4, disobey their leader. In Hunayn, Allah showed how the help of Allah is prevented from descending. The enemy was only 1/3, so Muslims began to think their victory is secured due to their numerical majority. As a result of this corruption of yaqeen, the help of Allah was prevented from coming.
لقد نصركم الله في مواطن كثيرة ويوم حنين إذ أعجبتكم كثرتكم فلم تغن عنكم شيئا وضاقت عليكم الأرض بما رحبت ثم وليتم مدبرين.
Truly, Allah has given you victory on many battlefields, and on the day of Hunayn, when you rejoiced at your great number, but it availed you not, and the earth, vast as it is, was straitened for you. Then you turned back in flight. So, my brothers, if the help of Allah was prevented from coming due to change in yaqeen of only some Sahaba, despite them being believers and in the company of Rasulullah ﷺ, Then what about us when we want help and victory from Allah, but in our midst are many who are desiring dunya and their yaqeen is on worldly means, materials. Some people might think jihad is the solution to all the problems of the ummah. To put it bluntly, this belief is an illusion. This is no better than thinking money is the solution to the ummah's problems, making everybody a millionaire is all that we need, or building tall buildings, nice roads, beautiful mosques, hospitals and colleges in every single Muslim town is the solution, or controlling the seat of government is the solution, or getting votes of majority is the solution, or making everybody a graduate and giving them their desired job is the solution, or reaching the pinnacle of science and technology is the solution, or uniting at any cost is the solution. In fact, the only solution is to return back to Deen, and that will only happen if we develop beliefs and qualities of Sahaba by undergoing similar trials, alienation, fear and loss, poverty, patience and sacrifice. When a soul knows his Deen, then it will undergo every kind of difficulty to connect to Allah and reach his destination. When we have achieved such an environment, then we can gain victory by the will of Allah. There is no magic formula or shortcut to this. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, when you deal in ina, usually take hold of the tails of the cows, become content with agriculture, and abandon jihad in the path of Allah, then Allah will permit your humiliation, and He will not remove it from you until you return to your religion. Imam Malik rahmatullahi alayhi said, whosoever introduces into Islam an innovation and holds it to be something good, has indeed alleged that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has betrayed his message. Read the saying of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala,
اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم الإسلام دينا.
This day I have perfected your religion for you, completed my favor upon you, and I have chosen for you Islam as your religion. So that which was not part of the religion at that time cannot be part of the religion today. And the last part of this ummah cannot be rectified except by that which rectified its first part. Thus, all those who are involved in the effort of betterment of the ummah must strengthen iman, negate the power of creation, and develop firm yaqeen in the power and qudrat of Allah. Turn the direction of their life away from dunya and towards akhirah. Adopt sunnah in everything and seek only the pleasure of Allah.
They don't speak about issues of knowledge because they say that this increases the difference of opinion among the Muslims. So we don't talk about whether you put your hand on your chest or under your belly, or whether you pray like this or fast like that, etc. They don't speak about this. So they've limited their religion, their Islam, in a number of particular things.
At the beginning of the video, the Sheikh appeared to praise the Tablighi brothers for attending circles of knowledge, only to contradict himself at the end of the video. I guess at the end of the clip he meant to refute lack of concern for fiqh issues, regarding which the position of Ahl Sunnah wal Jamah is one of respect and tolerance for the diversity of opinions, because of the fact that even Sahaba entertained differences of opinion at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Knowledge is from one of the 6 qualities. Tabligh outing has been described by some as the mobile madrasa. It is well known that people involved in Tablighi efforts also establish traditional madrasas. They are achieving this without making knowledge the primary goal of Tablighi outings. The emphasis on practicing upon knowledge. The rationale for this becomes clear when one reflects on such questions as what proportion of Muslims are praying the regular 5 times salah, from those who know it is obligatory. Thus, discussion on fiqh issues for which there is ikhtilaf is discouraged. Debating or promoting one's opinion over another is the domain of ulama. If laymen debates, then this would only result in destruction and further disunity. Tablighi Jamah have not limited the deen in any way. It may appear so in a superficial observation. Their reality is much more complex. Maulana Ilyas said, the actual aim of this effort of ours is to teach the Muslims everything with which the Holy Prophet ﷺ came. This is our aim. As for this movement of Jamaats and Tablighi Gasht, these are the initial means of achieving this aim, and the instruction of teaching of Kalima and Salat are, in other words, the ABC of our complete syllabus. It is also clear that our Jamaats cannot do all the work. What can be done by them is only this, that wherever they go, they can only produce emotion and awakening by means of their effort, and attach those people who are unmindful of religious concerns to the possessor of deen of their place, and can inspire those people of their place who have the worry of deen from making efforts to reform the ignorant common people. The elders of Tablighi Jamah fully accept the fact that the Ummah will only unite upon authentic stories from Quran and Sunnah, and the implementation of deen as understood by the Sahaba radiallahu anhum. This has been reflected in all their efforts. For example, the second Amir Maulana Yusuf rahmatullahi alayhi wrote a 3-volume book, Hayat al-Sahaba, so that the true lifestyle of Sahaba radiallahu ajma'in comes in front of every worker of deen, and that usuls of the work are drawn from this book. Some people allege Tablighi brothers restrict themselves to enjoining good and do not forbid evil. The fact is, forbidding evil is more delicate than enjoying good. A da'i who is closer to a doctor than a qadi needs to deal with people gently. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran,
فَبِمَا رَحْمَةٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ لِنْتَ لَهُمْ وَلَوْ كُنْتَ فَظًّا غَلِيظَ الْقَلْبِ لَانفَضُّوا مِنْ حَوْلِكَ فَاعْفُ عَنْهُمْ وَاسْتَغْفِرْ لَهُمْ وَشَاوِرْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ فَإِذَا عَزَمْتَ فَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الْمُتَوَكِّلِينَ.
and by the mercy of Allah you dealt with them gently. And had you been severe and harsh-hearted, they would have broken away about you. So pass over their faults and ask forgiveness for them, and consult them in their affairs. Then when you have taken a decision, put your trust in Allah. Certainly Allah loves those who put their trust in Him. People perform evils due to internal weaknesses. It's more lasting to strengthen people internally. When the young man requested that fornication be made halal, how did Rasulullah ﷺ handle him? Rasulullah ﷺ said, make things easy and do not make things hard. Tell people of glad tidings and do not push them away. Tablighi effort delivers the effect of forbidding evil over time and in subtle ways. Count how many people have given up so many evil beliefs, evil habits, and evil businesses due to their association with the effort. Reformation takes time. Reflect on why Quran was revealed over 23 years. Most commands of do's and don'ts revealed in Medina, and prohibition of alcohol came in stages. As a final note, I would like to say what Sheikh Assim Al-Hakeem didn't say. The positives which the Sheikh mentioned are the ones anyone can observe. Even non-Muslim can notice that. I would have expected anyone of his caliber talks about the efforts of Tabligh Jamat to at least notice the defining characteristics of this effort and perhaps weigh up the pros and cons in light of Sharia. Actually, there are quite a few barriers to correctly understanding this effort. Even the name Tablighi Jamah is a misnomer because many people straight away start analyzing the words like Tabligh, Jamah, or Dawah, or Islah in order to find shortcomings of the effort. None of these words fully encapsulate the full range of activities they do. This is why the best way to understand this work is to fully engage with all the activities at least for 3 days. A visit to Nizamuddin is highly recommended. So now I will outline some defining characteristics of Tabligh Jamah which even a casual observer would be able to identify. The primary objective is to strengthen Iman of individuals or communities as articulated by Maulana Ilyas. Much emphasis is given to realizing true meaning of La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, which includes negating the belief in the power of creation, i.e. materials, objects, systems, and means, to harm or benefit, and asserting power of the Almighty Creator, and to do so in deeds as well as in words, over and over again. In addition, great emphasis is placed on implementing Sunnah in all aspects of life. Turning the focus of our life from this world to the Akhirah, resorting to amals of deen for the solution of both worlds, relegating the means of the world only to obey the commands of Allah. This will transform the person internally, strengthen him or her, and motivate them to develop finer qualities, persevere, and fulfill the purpose of life. Taking practical steps to develop quality Muslims, their knowledge, character, sincerity, taqwa, tawakkul, generosity, dhikr, tahajjud, etc. should improve, purifying their business, culture, and the collective lifestyle of shirk and disobedience of Allah. Fulfill the purpose and distinction of this ummah. This is rendered by da'wah, tabligh, enjoining good and forbidding evil, khuruj, sacrifice, self-denial, perseverance, seeking direct help from Allah, etc. Jazakallah for listening and watching this video. May Allah give us the tawfiq to act upon what is heard and said. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.
لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله ما لنا رب سوى لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله